I'm Dr. Rabbi Larry Hirsch. Stay tuned for Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. It gives me great pleasure to welcome back to the show Dr. Rabbi Larry Hirsch from Beit El Bet, Israel. And he's, as you know, for those of you who watch my show regularly, because he comes in every season to Chicago as he works as a doctor in the Midwest. He is here and he talks to us about politics in Israel. He's our Israel politic expert. He talks to us about Jewish holidays. He talks to us about Torah, and he talks to us about medicine, and he talks about caring for people as being a doctor. And welcome back to the show. Glad to see you. We're here now in our winter visit of 2023 as the year now is well into the winter and the cold weather, and you've come to Chicago, and I know you're visiting your mother as you always do. We've mentioned that your mother lives in Skokie, and you stay with her when you're here, and thank God. How old is your mom now?
95.
95 years old. His mother, for those of you who haven't heard us talk about her before, is an amazing woman. She has an amazing mind at 95 years old, and she cooks still great, and is just really a wonderful person. And she raised a wonderful family. How's your family in Israel? Everyone's well. Everyone's healthy.
Everybody's doing great.
Good. So
23rd grandkid 2 weeks ago.
Unbelievable. And they're all in Israel.
Thank God.
They're all in Israel. Wow. So tell us what's up, what's new, what's going on.
Okay. I decided to come in.
Focus.
Yes, I decided to come into Chicago. A few months ago, I was here the first week of November, and I decided I was going to spend my 72nd birthday with my mother.
Oh, and happy birthday. He just celebrated this past week, right? He celebrated his 72nd birthday. He looks a lot younger than that. He looks younger than me. If he didn't have the beard, he would look a lot younger than me. But happy birthday. Yom Haledet Sameach.
January 28th, last Shabbos. And also this coming Shabbos in 2 days is the Kel Mole for my father's yortzeit, always after Tu B'Shvat. And I decided a few months ago to come in, and my wife said, no, let's take a few days off. You need it. Let's go to Eilat for your birthday. And I go, no, I'd have way more fun if I came to Chicago. And I have not had way more fun. And my message would be, if any Olim or prospective Olim, people who want to emigrate to Israel, are in the audience, guard your parents. And even those of you who are living here and intend to stay here, guard your parents, because my mom, Doug, is very nice here, Rabbi Doug, but she still cooks fantastic roast. She went with me to the Jewel to buy. She met me at the door last Friday morning. We got to go out and we got to buy the roast and potatoes and the onions, and we gotta get the chicken and all the vegetables. And I go, Mom, you're coming with me? Of course I'm coming with you. Okay, Mom, I'll go to Emma's and I'll buy the challah. Well, if you do, make sure that you buy yourself a birthday cake, because it's your birthday tomorrow. And that's my mom, but she is slipping.
She's still a mom.
Yeah, she's still a mom. She's there, but she's not there. Financial matters, she can't handle at all. And she's run into a bit of trouble, and which is why I want to talk to the subject of abusive guardianship.
Elder care
and abusive guardianship. A good friend of mine, Dr. Sam Sugar, when I made Aliyah, I was renting space from Dr. Meir Eisenstein in an office that doesn't exist in the building. Alav Shalom, Family Practice Unlimited on Lincoln near Peterson. And Sam invited us over to his house, and I was making Aliyah that week, and we raised glasses of whiskey, and Mayor gave a speech which I will never forget. You're going on Aliyah. It's a good thing you're doing. It's a right thing. It's the thing we should all be doing.
Did your mother support you on going on Aliyah?
Yeah.
At the time?
Yeah, sure.
She was supportive of it.
And
She ready. In the meantime, your brother moved to California.
Yeah.
You had two sisters here at the time, and you picked up and left. Yeah, she had no sons in town anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's part of the problem now. And I want to say about my friend Dr. Sam Sugar. He's set up a organization to investigate and help people who are up against corrupt probate guardians and the whole system of doctors.
So there are
doctors, of lawyers, of judges.
There are a number of people out there who are in businesses like that. They're there to assist people whose parents are either being abused by other siblings, or parents who have been exploited by organizations, and so on and so forth. We just have a relative in our family who was started out as they told him that he was going to get he won a big fortune, and then they started blackmailing him, and he literally lost all the money he had saved for his life.
Well,
and they were not able to catch the people.
Dr. Sam Sugar has gone even so far as kidnapping people who were taken out of their homes, held incommunicado by very vicious lawyers and judges who banished these people out of their homes. This woman in particular that I'm talking about in Florida had her own restaurant, had rental apartments above her restaurant. One of the people renting from her noticed she's gone. And Sam did investigative work, found her, and had to kidnap her back. So it is a vicious system that you could possibly be up against. And I want to explain. Rabbi Doug says I taught Torah, so we'll give a Torah introduction. Last week was Parshas Bo, Shechin, boils. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses takes a handful of soot from the kivshan, from the furnace, throws it up in the air. And what he's doing is indicting a system that won't respond to evil. And Rav Matis Weinberg says about such a system, the furnace could be the industrial machine, could be even, could you imagine, Rabbi Matis says, a modern prophet throwing up a handful of nuclear waste to indict a society which will not respond to evil. And such a society, he says, is capable of the worst perversity. And that's what's going on to these poor old people. I want to talk a little bit about my mother's case. She's certainly slipping. She will not understand anything financial. And let me explain what's happened to her over the last year. She was forced by a relative to sign a power of attorney on January 23rd.
Let me go back. Forced. She was convinced that she should do it, not understanding what it was. Force is different than that.
Yeah,
but then she was convinced.
To quote, they had me put my coat on, took me somewhere. Mom, was it to lawyer X because I had seen her checkbook? And her mind was slipping, she didn't remember. Yeah. Did you sign some pieces of paper there? Power of attorney, a land trust, a new will, which changed things drastically. Yeah, I signed some papers there. Mom, why'd you sign? Because I'm afraid of this relative. Okay, so that gives you an idea of the background of what can happen to these old people as their mind slips. They're easily bullied. Okay? Now,
bullied is a good word.
Now let's go ahead, a little bit of ahead to May. And I'll give you a little idea, sort of a Rosebud Orson Welles story. As a young guy, between 1968 and 72, vended at all the ballparks. I had little kids would rob the piggy bank and come up with change. 1888 silver dollars and stuff. So I had rolls of silver quarters in a file cabinet that was sitting for 50 years. from 1972 to last year.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, this relative, I was working for a year, August to August, 2021 to 2022. So I came in May. My mother's telling me, oh, this relative took all your coins out. Really? Yeah, and they took it, she gave it to her granddaughter and took it to a coin collector to see if they're worth anything. Yeah, well, Mom, they're not worth anything because I took all the good ones with me 50 years ago because I bought a $2 book. They didn't have to take it to a coin collector. Okay, I called the relative, and the relative says, and this is very typical of what's going to go on in the story, she told me to remove it. She told you to remove it after sitting on the bottom shelf of a file cabinet for 50 years, she told you. Okay, and if you want your stuff back, you can come and get it, which I did. I bit my tongue. It was sort of a rosebud thing. When you're treated like that and abused like that. And now let's switch from the relative to the doctors who are involved. Right around that time in June, my mother is found on the floor, awake by my sister. She ends up in, can I mention the name of the hospital?
Yeah, sure.
Lutheran General Hospital. And she's taken care of
I
by
grew up just about 4 blocks from there.
2 religious doctors, an internist and a cardiologist. Cardiologist says, well, she could have passed out. She says she didn't, but she was found awake, but she could have passed out. And this could have been a TIA, so let's have her increase her baby aspirin from 1 tablet a day to 4 tablets a day. Now that's really interesting because
couldn't you go to 2 whole aspirins?
Oh, yeah. So 2, yeah. TIAs generally 7% or less will cause, you have to have a posterior circulation, the blood vessel in the back of your head to knock you out with no symptoms of double vision, vomiting. The odds are very low that it was a posterior TIA, but worse, you take a little old lady who blacks out and she ends up on the floor and hits her head. If you really want to make sure she has a big bleed in her head and doesn't survive, I once saw a little old lady in the Hadassah ER. She opened up her freezer, according to the people of the family, and collapsed. Went into coma from a huge bleed. She was on aspirin and died very quickly. So that's one of the 2 doctors who later, 2 months later in October, declared my mother incompetent. I don't know who was more incompetent. In October, I had to fly in from Israel. She was again just complaining she was weak, taken into the hospital on October 19th, the day after Simchas Torah, and was given a bottle of IV fluids, watched and signed out generalized fatigue. Now this one I call the clean kill. Because what the internist did was, I flew in from Israel, nobody was around while she was being discharged, and I took her home. On the way home, she buys a roast, and she cooks it up for Shabbos. Larry Hirsch has never cooked a roast in his life. I'm babied by Mom and my wife, Andrea Jane. So I take her home, and on the way out of the hospital, there's a new prescription by the internist, Norvasc, amlodipine 5 milligrams. Nobody, 95, should be given that dose, but in any case, take it every evening. Again, it's a long-acting pill. You can give it every other day at that age. So my mother, Friday night, takes the first pill. The next morning, I'm leaving. She's sitting at the kitchen table. Mom, I'm going over to Torah. It's a mile away. You going? Yeah, synagogue. You're going across the street to Skokie Central? Yeah, sure. 3 hours later, I come back to Skokie Central. No Mom. Come back to the house. She's still sitting in the same spot. What's wrong? I can't get up. Okay, let's get your blood pressure. Sitting down, 128 over 72.
That's a good
pulse
pressure.
74. Standing up, Mom. You can do it, Mom. You can do it. Okay, she stands up. I held her up. 92 over 61. I'm dizzy. 92 over 61? Yeah, same pulse. So, now there's a point to this story. Usually if somebody's blood pressure drops, they become tachycardic. But she was on a beta blocker, 810 law. It does not allow you to compensate and raise your pulse. So I threw the Norvasc in the garbage because it was obviously the Norvasc. But let's get to the clean kill aspect. Let's say I wasn't around and she takes the first pill Friday night, takes the second pill Saturday night. They find her dead the next morning because the second pill, instead of 92 over 61, it'll be 50 over 10. And she's found,
God forbid.
And she's found Sunday morning, collapsed dead on the floor. And you know, it's another 95-year-old lady who's dead. No no evidence. So I called the doctor who prescribed that stuff. Monday just said, I've stopped the atenolol, I stopped the Norvasc, and we're cutting the atenolol in halves. It's worked, but the doctor signs my mother out that she needs 24/7 care. That's October 27th. She was discharged 21.
Before you go on, I got to ask you, what was the pill supposed to do, the Norvasc? What was it supposed to do?
Every evening her blood pressure does shoot up. And I have rewritten it this week. I noticed every evening she's out of her mind, 179 over 91, those kind of pressures. So I gave her a reasonable dose for a 95-year-old. Mom, we're buying 2.5 milligram tablets, not 5s. Cut them in half, and 3 days a week she showers, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and 3 days a week she's now taking Norvasc. Her blood pressure has not shot up. When she stands up, I've checked it, it's like 128 over 70, and when she stands up, her pulse now rises from 81 to 89. So it's all right, but I want to say, this doctor care, I called the doctor. She doesn't need 24/7 care. This doctor, by the way, Davins, it's Rabbi Small, Aaron Small, who is an angel, because he's trying to intercede. The doctor will not talk to me. Doctor, she doesn't need 24/7 care. Anybody who gets herself out of bed, showers herself, dresses herself, cooks for herself, doesn't need 24/7 care. I verified this with social workers. It's obvious. But she was given 24/7 care, and that's what I want to finish with.
Stay tuned. Taped with Rabbi Doug will be right back.
COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. Millions of doses have already been given in the United States, and these vaccines have the most intensive safety monitoring in U.S. history. If you have questions, get answers from a reliable source. cdc.gov.
Buckle up for safety, buckle up. Buckle up for safety, always buckle up. Pull your seatbelt snug, give an extra tug. Buckle up for safety, buckle up.
Buckle up for safety, buckle up. Buckle up for safety, always buckle up. Show the world you care by the belt you wear. Buckle up for safety when you're driving. Buckle up for safety, buckle up. Buckle up for safety, always buckle up. Put your mind at ease, tell your riders please get your seatbelts buckled, everybody buckle up.
Seatbelts can and do save lives every day.
Buckle up for safety, everybody buckle up.
Hi, I'm Chief Rabbi Fry Mervis, and you're watching Rabbi Doug, and I want to give you very best wishes, Koltov to all of you, and may Hashem bless you all.
My mother was forced to have, I put in security cameras. The whole family's talking to my mom 24/7. Bubby can talk to my 6 kids, me and my wife, and we're watching her. And in fact, she did one Shabbos say she was weak, walked out of her apartment, was walking out of the range of where I could see her, but I could hear her. She told a neighbor, I can't walk. How she got it. She obviously walked there. They called the paramedics. I talked to the paramedics. It was a Shabbos morning again. She was back home before the end of Shabbos. This relative who is the power of attorney didn't know about it. I had to tell her because she was back home before Shabbos was over. But 24/7 care was forced on her January 2nd in the afternoon. I wake up in the morning, all the security cameras are offline. I call my mom. Hey, she was in here, ripped out all your cameras and installed a babysitter. Do you want a babysitter, Mom? No. Okay. A couple of days later, my mom put 2 of them back unanchored just so I could talk to her. But I get a letter from a lawyer, not the same lawyer who set up the power of attorney a year ago. The cameras are unnecessary. Now, this is with a caregiver now, a babysitter. Cameras are unnecessary. You're not to come or else we'll get a court order because you're interfering with the care plan. The care plan was obviously to turn her into an invalid because Mom sits in a big chair and this caretaker, who's a layman, I asked my mom, did she ever take your blood pressure? No. And she certainly wasn't going to figure out the Norvasc clean kill thing. I would see the caregiver start to pull my mom out of this big chair that she leans back and I go, hey, don't do that. That's her physical therapy. You do that for her In 3-4 days, muscle atrophy will set in, and she'll never get out of a chair again. I was interfering with a care plan that was set up to turn her into an invalid. What can I say? And I asked my mom, yes, right. I was told I'm interfering with the care plan, right? Some layman from Ghana who doesn't know any medicine, who never took her blood pressure, who isn't going to figure out any of this, is going to give better care than her son, who's in and out. I've been warned now to stay out. On February 24th, there's a court case, a Zoom case, to give power to my daughter, to this relative who davens at Kins North, as well as the cardiologist, the guy who tried to knock her off with the aspirin. So I asked my mom, when you get up in the middle of the night to urinate, do you wake up the babysitter? Oh no, I wouldn't wake her up. Unnecessary, 24/7 care. At the max, maybe 12-hour, and even then, my mother, nobody who needs 24/7 care survives from the end of October 27th, to January 2nd, when it was forced on her, survives. If you need to be fed, she'll die of dehydration in 2-3 days if she doesn't get the care. If you need oxygen and you need 24/7 help with that, you're dead in an hour. If you need tracheostomy care, you're dead in 3-4 days as it fills up with secretions. So this was ridiculous. This was Alice in Wonderland, and I'm interfering with the care plan. So there was another aspect of that, is the cost, and that's my point, folks, because I came in and I said simply, let's take her to Israel. Let's put her in Park Plaza, because
a local Jewish retirement home.
Yes. Because my mother doesn't fathom that she's going to be bankrupted. She takes in $2,900 and is paying out $8,000.
Big problem with seniors.
Okay, it's a big problem with seniors. She's going to be bankrupted and be forced into a public aid nursing home. She says, nobody's taking me out of here. She's maybe 110 pounds, right?
She lives in her own place.
They'll pick her up and throw her out of her house. Instead, it's insane to force her bankrupt into a public aid nursing home, where she's going to have to be forced at some point. Hey, I told this relative, let's force her. You and me will wheel her off to O'Hare and wheel her off to Israel. I can take care of her. 24-hour care there is 9,000 shekel, which is less than a third of the cost which she could afford, or put her in Pike Plaza. Either way, she's going to have to be forced. Force her when it's insane to force her when she's bankrupt. Eventually bankrupt. Force her now. And so I go, Mom, where's your passport? Oh, it's missing from its file. So this is what you could be up against. So what I'm saying is, any of you who are Olim or potential Olim, guard your parents, because I will tell you something. There are Banim in the community. I've talked to many. One, Aaron Small, is an angel, Rabbi Aaron Small. One of the internists from Lutheran General, the husband and wife daven at his shul, and he's 3 times this week. I've called every day to the internist, talk to me, because the 24/7 obviously was wrong. If she survived two months and a week without it, and she eventually threw out the caretaker between January 17th and the 20th. and the rabbi of the other 3 principals involved, all daven at Kins North. The rabbi didn't really want to get involved. One main CRC rabbi has expressed interest, but sort of hemmed and hawed all week and actually getting a hold of me, which is not that difficult. Be careful. Reb Shmuel Eliyahu in Israel is very active. He has what's called Forum Takana. When there's sexual abuse, Rabbi Mati alone, Chaim Walder, people know the case. When there's sexual abuse, he's active. People end up in cherem and worse, in jail. But the rabbis here are not very active, and there won't be a help. I have not seen, Rav Shmuel Eliyahu and his firm Takana will put people in excommunication. You can't come into the shul at least. Do something. And again, the lesson of the shchin of the boils, if you won't respond to evil, you're capable of any perversity. That's my lesson. Guard your parents, because it's so aggravating. I came in for a nice, peaceful 2 Shabbatot with my mother. I was not only told I'm interfering with a care plan, but my stuff was moved out of the apartment. My mother didn't know where it was for 3 days, including prescriptions, which is illegal. You can get 1 to 3 years in jail. They showed up only when I sent to this relative the law, and all of a sudden they showed up again. And I have a video, them telling my mother going, where's the stuff? You shut up, you sit down, you shut up, you're to blame, you did it. Big boxes of my stuff were all moved into a storage area, and this little 95-year-old lady moved it. This is abuse and bullying, and please guard your parents, because Sam Sugar is correct. You have to, the way he's gotten rid of even judges, you have to publicize what they're up to, and it's not easy. It's a very perverse legal system here, very difficult. It's used by not nice people to do not nice things. Your mother, father could end up in a public aid nursing home, and they're not nice, because there are all kinds of people who all contractured up and can't talk. You want them in a park plaza, in a retirement home before it ever reaches that. That's what I'm hoping to do, but you gotta force her to do it.
She'll agree to go to Israel with you.
She doesn't have a passport anymore.
Passport.
Same relative made it disappear.
Wow.
There's my story.
People have to watch out for their elderly relatives, and especially when you're across the ocean, it's hard to do. It's hard to do.
One nice thing about across the ocean, if you were to get any cooperation, much cheaper. 4,200 shekel. Shekel is 3.3. 400 shekel for what's they call Filipino hoduit, an Indian lady or a Filipino lady. Every Shabbos, that's for a month. Every Shabbos is 500 shekel extra, unless if they stay or go home. And it's a total feeding and other stuff, taxes on them, 9,000 shekel, which is a third of the cost here, even if they need 24/7, which is in this case necessary.
Well, unfortunately, we are running out of time. I want to thank you for being on the show. So Dr. Hirsch's message this week is watch out for your older relatives. Don't let people take advantage of them. Don't let people bully them into signing things they don't know what they're signing. And I know I see this working with hospice and working with home health over the years, that a lot of people have become powers of attorney for the parents, and the parents don't even remember that they signed something to make them power of attorney, because the law is to sign over a power of attorney, the person who signs it has to be well aware of the person they're appointing and agree to it in front of witnesses, in front of a witness at least, to sign over a power of attorney. And unfortunately, sometimes they're just coerced to do it, and they don't even know what they're signing. Just sign here. And the other person says, okay, I saw her sign it, or saw him sign it,
But have it here.
Anyway, hope to see you next time. Remember, if you want to check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, you can see former shows on the web. If you want to email Dr. Hirsch or me, info@tvrabbi.com. Hope to see you next time right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show, where he's the rabbi for me. Anytime you need, you're gonna get married or you're gonna die, gonna see Rabbi Doug, gonna see Rabbi Doug, gonna see Rabbi Doug, gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.